time has come. Once the master of the midfield, now the maestro of mediocre. There's been some ups, there's been some downs. Quite a few downs, actually. It's been a fun 3.5 years, but I believe at the end of this season, Red Bull and Sergio Perez need to part ways. We've just finished the Monaco Grand Prix weekend, where Sergio Perez qualified 18th, before things went from bad to worse. This happened in a car which is still the best in Formula 1 and leading the Constructors' Championship, and so really should have been qualified at the other end of the grid, well away from Magnussen and his antics. Yes, the RB20 may not be all that well suited to Monaco. Even Max said he drove it as fast as anyone possibly could and only achieved 6th on the grid. It may be stiff and therefore loses time on the lumpy streets of Monte Carlo, but you still have to get it into Q3. Or even Q2, come on Sergio. Perez's form is obviously in a bit of a slump. But he has had spells like this before and the team stuck with him. He is a professional after all. He will figure it out and get quicker, just like he did in 2022 to then start 2023 kicking. So if he could turn it around before, wouldn't the team just stick with him again? The rumours about Max leaving have not gone away, and so Red Bull could find themselves without the driver they've had since 2016. In that case, wouldn't they want to keep Perez and keep at least some stability in that team? No, and there's 3 reasons why. Firstly, compared to Perez's slump in 2022, the rest of the field is just different now. Back when I was predicting the grid for this season, I said this: Red Bull is not happy losing a Constructors' Championship because Mercedes keeps getting 2nd and 3rd every race, and their second driver is coming in like 6th. If Red Bull start to lose their technical advantage and suddenly the fight gets a lot tougher with other teams, the heat is going to be on for Perez. Replace Mercedes with Ferrari, McLaren, and also maybe Mercedes, it still holds true. We are really seeing now in 2024 that Red Bull's technical advantage is not as mythically large as it used to be. Norris won on pace in Miami and almost did so again in Imola, finishing less than a second behind Max. Then in Monaco this weekend, Max finished behind 2 entire teams in qualifying. The Constructors' title is not a guarantee for Red Bull this season. They're only 24 points ahead of Ferrari and only 92 ahead of McLaren. With 16 races left in the season, both of these gaps could fall to 0, especially if Red Bull is fighting with one hand tied behind its back. If you assume that the technical performance between these teams remains close for 2025, Red Bull cannot afford to have the 8th best driver from the top 4 teams. Make no mistake, it's nice for a team to win the driver's title. It's the one that people remember. But ask any team on the grid, if they can only have one, would they take the driver's title or the constructor's title? Every single time they're saying constructor's title. This is the championship that decides their paycheck, and it has a massive influence on their ability to sign sponsors. Let's say Max does leave Red Bull for 2025. Well, it's a lot easier for them to hold on to their big name sponsors if they can open up the constructors table and point to the fact that they're at the top of it. See kids, Wikipedia is important. Therefore, Red Bull need both of their drivers to be picking up maximum points each weekend, however many points that may be. And currently, Perez is not doing that. Assuming this pressure from other teams isn't going away anytime soon, Red Bull are gonna need to change some things around. The second reason I think Red Bull won't hold on to Perez is, well, he's Perez. What I mean by that is I don't think Perez's mentality and his style as a competitor works well with Red Bull's attitude towards racing. Red Bull is a pile on the pressure environment, and I really don't think Sergio has a mindset that thrives on that. All drivers and athletes are affected by their confidence, and a long-running building or breaking down of that confidence has a massive impact on your speed on track. Ricciardo is a great example of this. Similarly to Ricciardo, I believe that Perez is very prone to outside pressures affecting where his confidence goes and therefore where his performance goes. His slumps seem to be long-lasting, which is a sign that this is the case. It takes a while to get out of that headspace and be able to tell yourself that yes, I am speed once more. That doesn't mesh well with Red Bull's general attitude and particularly their current situation. If Ferrari overtake Red Bull in the constructor standings, are Horner and Marco the kind of people to say, "No worries lads, you're doing the best you can, better luck next time"? No. The pressure is going to be on. The team will be in crisis mode, and I would assume they're ramping up the work on their drivers. If Sergio has to sit through even more performance meetings where he's told about all the different ways that he's losing time and all the different ways that Max is faster than him, I could see this having a detrimental effect on his mentality, starting a lovely little downward spiral. Max is a diamond, applying pressure only makes him stronger, but Perez is a delicate souffle. Great in the right moment, this is a cream caramel, ignore that. Great in the right moment, but apply pressure and well, I'm not gonna smash this, don't be silly. Do you have any idea how much it costs to get a chair like this cleaned? Perez thrived as a big fish in a small pond at smaller teams, where just scoring points earned him a hero's reputation. But now at Red Bull, he's a medium-sized fish in a goddamn ocean. And to make it worse, these waters are filled with sharks. Thirdly, and counterintuitively, I believe that if Verstappen does leave Red Bull, this can actually be worse for Perez. Max has provided Sergio with a certain level of job security. It doesn't really matter what you do if your teammates are already scoring enough points to win the constructors on their own. If Max does leave, well, this then only increases the pressure on Sergio to pick up those points instead. And well, increased pressure, refer to my previous point. Along with this, that Red Bull car is Max's car. He's been there for 9 years. Obviously, the philosophy of that car has grown up with Max Verstappen and is built upon years and years of Max's feedback. By all accounts, that Red Bull car is not easy to drive, but you need someone who can drive it to its fullest potential in order to correlate factory data and to prove if new developments coming from the team are working or not. If Perez can only drive the car at, say, 97% potential when Max can do it at 100, that hurts the team on their ability to develop and get faster in the future. And the team knows this. If Verstappen does leave, Red Bull will be keen to bring in 1 or even 2 new drivers who do gel well with the car philosophy and therefore can continue the development they've already started. Sergio needs Max. Currently, he's Max's teammate. If you remove Verstappen from the equation, that just makes him teammate. It's not exactly an awe-inspiring title, is it? Red Bull needs drivers who are deadly, not dead weight. So all in all, I think Red Bull are getting deep into a situation where they have to get rid of Perez and find an alternative who gives them a bit more security going into the future. So who do they pick? Sainz is the obvious choice. Quick enough to be a lead driver if Max does quit, but also calm enough not to constantly be fighting Verstappen over who gets to be the #1 driver. You could make a play for a big name like Norris. This is getting harder now, obviously that McLaren is better and can finally deliver him wins, but you know, Red Bull does have one thing to their advantage: massive bags of money. And I mean like massive bags of money. In the same vein, you could try for Piastri. He's quick, he's young, he's moldable. After that one tweet, basically he's free from any kind of controversy, one thing that Red Bull would very much like right now. They've also got Tsunoda, who they could promote up. He's looking good, but then again, there are still some question marks. Gasly could bring him back. Obviously did amazingly in AlphaTauri once he was demoted back down. In the last couple of years though, bit more quiet. Not really sure he's still the superstar they need him to be. Lawson did amazingly in his few races last year and is just hanging around the paddock already. He's not doing anything else, why not put him in the car? This one would make me very happy, as I always like to see new drivers come into the sport and prove what they got, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed for an outcome like this. Then again though, I've never been the best at predicting the driver market, have I? I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like down below if you did. Let me know what you think Red Bull should do. There are rumours in the works that Perez could be just about to re-sign, and so maybe only a few days after this comes out, this whole thing will be proved wrong. That's normally how it goes around here. Subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss the next video, and until then, I've been Mr. V, and I'll see you guys later.